Well, hi there, beautiful people, all you healing and healed people out there. Thank you again for joining us this Wednesday with Winedown Wednesday with Kecia, and of course, my male perspective, Justin, who is always here. And tonight we have a beautiful young lady that's joining us, Johan. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what she has going on. Um, but of course, I want to start off by saying this because I'm trying to get better at this. I'm gonna need y'all to like and subscribe and catch us on YouTube channel because I need to say this as well. Instagram is acting kind of sketchy tonight, so it won't be airing on Instagram. So you would need to, if you use it, go over there and watch it, then you would have to watch it on YouTube. So I guess it might be too late to say that. But sometimes, baby, all the money I pay for this streaming service and it's just it doesn't cooperate with some of the platforms. So tonight we're gonna be talking a little bit about your boy, what's his name? Um
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs with his trifling ass. I don't even try to remember his damn name because that's too damn trite. Every time I think about him, I think about the multiple women and children that he had, which is totally disgusting. So just like his dingaling is in everything. It should smell horrible at this point. But anyway,
These are facts. These are facts.
yeah.
I can't dispute that.
So and the women must smell horrible because they're like sharing this guy. You know what I'm like? He's going from female to female to female. I mean, raw dogging. And ain't no telling what kind of raw dogging they doing because you got all different flavors and sizes and stuff. So
But it seemed like he got a type. He got a specific type that he like. So it's like he like vanilla ice cream or whatever. Just one ice cream for, but he like all these different toppings on it.
yeah,
I think that's what it is, right, with him. So, but yeah, he's staying he's staying in the headlines right now. Yeah, the Cardi B thing. Now, yeah, he just beat the case in court. We're gonna talk about that today. But yeah, Stephon Diggs, he's staying in the spotlight right now.
yeah, he seems like
Pray
he's
for him.
always in the spotlight. I'm gonna need him to perfect his game so he can make top dollar at his profession that he's supposed to be doing.
He makes pretty good money. He making decent money.
Okay. So, but anyway, getting back to the topic, y'all, because we talked enough about the disgusting the character, but we're gonna touch on that a little in our conversation. But I just had to get that off of my chest. So tonight, Justin is gonna speak from the New Orleans Police Department, because he was a former officer about, the prevalence of domestic violence and how that what that looks like in New Orleans from the law enforcement side. And I have Johan here who has, she can speak and tell you all about, domestic violence. That's her area. So in her expertise, maybe lived experience. So I'm gonna let y'all, do y'all thing and have that conversation. And Johan, maybe might want to ask you, Justin, some of the whys because I'm sure she has some whys for the police department. If you haven't lived experience, and so. And one of the things is, like from what Justin has said, like domestic violence is more prevalent. Like they would get a multitude of calls from New Orleans East. So that's why our topic tonight focuses on domestic violence, the calls in New Orleans East, the common patterns, that's often observed. And the emotional impact of that within our communities amongst our people, how they affect our population. Because one thing, we can always, like, whenever something happens with a celebrity, like, we make that and like it's a topic forever. Like now, Stephon Diggs is a topic, a hot topic. I saw someone else that's a hot topic. What's the little girl named Krishan and Blueface? Who and when I had gone back and looked at some of the footage and old episodes of their relationship, like that was a toxic ass relationship. Like the police was constantly called. This girl bit him in the head on, like they're doing all of this on television. So like this is reality television where they're abusing each other. He's a narcissist. She's inflicted by this narcissistic behavior, and really and truly no one understands like this. Like I did a little research on her background, which is similar to most of the ladies that are involved with Stephon Diggs. Like they come from a very traumatic like a foundation in their lives. And the only thing that they're looking for is someone that's going to give them something that escaped them when they was a child. Because whenever our trauma happens, and I'm going to say this again, if you inflicted, like if you were assaulted or had any type of abuse or trauma experience at the age of 11, 12, 5, at that age, your mind is stuck in that period. So you're constantly recycling that memory over and over and over again. So just imagine if you're holding on to something and that happened to you when you were 10, 11, or 12 years old. That little girl was hurt. And that little girl that was hurt is looking for someone to rectify that in some type of way. She's looking for, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. You know, I'm a good girl. I do the things that I'm supposed to do. Why would somebody hurt me? Even women, you know, we and it follows us. And I'm sorry, I'm y'all. I had a long day, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of tipsy right now because I'm sipping on this bogle wine from last week. Baby, let me tell you, the life of a social worker. Let me tell y'all, I'm getting a little bit off the topic, but they never told me that I was gonna be traumatized and crazy like the fucking clients. I think I had. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to curse just now, but I think I'm more traumatized now than I was when I was a child. So, and like I tell you, know, I think I said this last week. I think like I'm so healed. I don't like nobody. I don't
That's
like
right.
nobody because I hear it all. I haven't seen it all, but I'm on the phone with crisis calls day after day after day after day. And of course, we all have a story as to the why we do things and why we do the things that we do. So I just have a question. And then we could jump off into, you know, Justin can give his perspective from a police officer's point of view. But John, when you thought, you know, when I sent you the topic, what was the first thing that came to your mind about this topic?
You mute. You mute.
You mute.
We can't hear you. You mute. Turn that mute button.
All right,
Testing
sorry
1, 2.
guys.
There you go. There you go. Now you good.
Yeah, I thank y'all. I was taken back by the topic, but it's truly like just listening to y'all talk about Stephon Diggs and then other celebrities that's in the spotlight, past and present. It's very taboo. That's what I speak about a lot of times. The domestic violence is taboo. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people say whatever happens in my house, stay in my house, growing up in our culture and things of that nature. So a lot of times it's just not talked about, and it's so toxic and it's so accepted now. People just think that it's normal, it's okay, and it's not. So I was glad that you were bringing this to the surface, and I was looking forward to hear what Justin had to say in regards to, you know, New Orleans and various things like that.
So is domestic violence like an experience of yours? I mean, you don't have to share, you know, everything, but if
Okay,
that
well, I
is
didn't know how much you wanted me to.
David,
I
go
didn't
for
know how
the
much you
gusto.
wanted to talk
Yeah,
about.
whatever you want to talk about, whatever you comfortable with, That's what we here
Oh
for.
no,
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
tell
know
some
what you
stories.
wanted me to talk about. So honestly, my name is Joanne West Bartholomew. I have a business, JWB is Me LLC. And the business, it brings about awareness. It's towards domestic violence, awareness and empowerment. So it's JWB is Me LLC, overcoming fear one day at a time. And we look at the fear, it's an acronym for faith, empowerment, awareness, and reimagining. And this business came about where, like I said, it's a taboo topic. Nobody really want to talk about it. And as much as I grew up and said, oh, this is not going to happen to me, it's not going to be me, and it's different forms of abuse, till I had to bring some light to the topic and to empower not only others but empower myself, as well as bring awareness. So at first it was where I would see, like, I've been seeing stuff off kilter for a long time. Like even in high school, you will see, and growing up in New Orleans, we'll see topics like I just said. People grow up and they think that things are okay and it's acceptable. So I remember, but I knew it wasn't right. I was in high school, and it was a nice couple. You know, they were on the auxiliary team. I think somebody was on the football team. I think the girl might have been a cheerleader or something like that. But you looked at the couple and they were a model couple, and that would be a couple that you'll kind of look up to or something like that. But I was standing in the window and I saw him push on her, push her down, talk to her crazy from at the bus stop, like walking down Canal Street. And it was just like eye opening, but she never said anything. And we were young, like we were in high school at this time. I must have been, I think I was a sophomore, she was a senior, and he was a senior. But it just looked just out the way for somebody to treat her, in that manner. And it's just not her, it was other people that I've seen, friends, some family members. So at first I wasn't personally affected, like, well, hands was put on me or anything like that. But as time went on and you grow up and you live and you deal with, like you just said, about narcissistic people, or individuals who actually not, they might not necessarily be narcissistic, but they have trauma that they haven't addressed and they've dealt with within themselves, that they don't know how to express themselves and communicate effectively. I think what helps, both you and I, are that we have social work background, so we learned how to communicate. We learned how to look at the whole person and not judge. But everybody doesn't have that background. They don't have that feel. So so that's just my bit. Growing up, I saw it, yeah. But as I got older and was in a relationship, I've had several relationships where it was a pattern. Like it was toxic, it was a pattern. Some of them, it wasn't physical. I've had one physical altercation, honestly, and it was a both he and I type situation, but it wasn't, my experiences weren't physical, honestly. They were mental, emotional, financial. And then that was in one relationship. Then in my marriage, I had some issues financially. My husband had some issues with substance abuse and things of that nature. So as time went on, it was alcohol, it was substance abuse, just not being able to, him knowing how to communicate effectively, but we both making money, and then there's no money. Like, where's the money? Like, so then that's where I wanted other people to see and understand, where it's not always physical, and then you just can't see everybody's scars. So there's just bringing awareness to the various forms of abuse. So, you have anything you want to add, Justin?
Oh yeah, that's why I'm letting y'all talk, because I got a lot to say. Mainly because, like Kecia said, I worked for New Orleans Police Department for 5 years, and not only did I work for New Orleans Police Department, I worked in New Orleans East. So for the audience who don't really know nothing about New Orleans, man, people out here in New Orleans, they know New Orleans East. It's the wild, wild west out there. But I bring that up to say, while I was working, so I did, out of my 5 years, I did 4.5 in New Orleans East. And then right before I left NOPD, I did my last stint on Bourbon Street during COVID. So I wasn't really doing that. So I spent the majority of my career patrolling in New Orleans East. Let's just say out of 10, 12 calls for service, you'll go on your shift, half of those domestic violence. And I did that for 4.5 years. I went to school and got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So I learned a little bit from it there. I've been a part of some not domestic relationships, but domestic incidents myself. I'm gonna get into those later. So I got the experience policing it, observation. I've been in some situations, so I ain't no expert by no means. I don't got no organization. I don't got none of that. But I think I can bring a lot of insight on it. Real quick before I'm gonna let y'all ask me some questions as far as just domestic violence in general, my stint at NOPD. But I want to leave with like a couple of statistics that I think is eye-opening. And this is I stuck to the country United States because they got domestic violence globally, but fortunately for us here in the United States, it's against the law. It got some places where you could just wild out on your significant other and there ain't no repercussions. I mean, at one point in the United States, it wasn't illegal, you know. It was just nothing. Which is why I think it's important for me to share some light on it from a law enforcement view. But anywho, nearly 1 in 3 women and 1 in 10 men have experienced intimate partner violence. That's a huge stat. I think I'm really intrigued by this one. Over half of female homicide victims in the U.S. are killed by a current or former male intimate partner. So half of homicides from women is from some type of them. That's a crazy stat, right? And lastly, domestic violence is heavily underreported, with estimates suggesting only about half of incidents are reported to law enforcement. And since I'm in law enforcement, I could definitely attest to that. I always told people the domestic violence incidents and calls I went on, the worst I've seen, not even the worst out there. Because the worst that's out there, they ain't calling the police. It's almost suicide. Nope. Because they significant other know, hey, pick up that phone if you want to. That's gonna be the last phone call you make. I've seen it. But yeah, I just wanted to start with those statistics, and then I'm gonna let y'all, instead of me just like going on a rant and preaching, I'm gonna just have y'all, whatever y'all want to ask me, what's on y'all mind, go ahead. I'm pretty sure I'll have something for it.
So this is the thing. So do you think that, when we have these high profile celebrity cases that happen, do you think that kind of helps to raise awareness, to bring more, like the police officers are more aware as to, these situations and how they can handle them better than, as far as, I guess I want to say, behavior health plays a major role in domestic violence. So do you think that since we've had these high profile cases, they kind of raise awareness, whereas the police officers are being trained adequately to deal with these types of situations?
Well, me personally, and my disclaimer going forward is a lot of what I'm gonna say today is based on my personal opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just giving my perspective on it. I think when it comes to the celebrities and these high profile cases, I think it's kind of setting not the awareness of domestic violence, but a lot of these kids, like this, the one we just saw with Stephon Diggs, he got found not guilty from the shelf or whatever for the strangulation case. That woman was up there. Now, I don't know what happened. I'm not going to say she was lying. I don't want to ever say that. We don't know what happened. But I will say she was up there for a different reason. It wasn't because she feared Stefan Diggs. It wasn't because he was doing whatever he was doing. Everything. She was afraid to go to the house. From what I saw in the trial, she didn't like her position on his roster.
Team.
As far as where she
Yeah,
was
she was the
winning,
bottom of
and
the.
she wanted some money, right? So when you look at that from the outside looking in, you looking at women who are actually going through some serious stuff, and they kind of look like, damn girl, you messing it up for now. I may not want to come out and say something because they go think I'm lying because it appeared like you was lying. A lot of the celebrity cases, Amber Heard, a couple of years back with Johnny Depp, with that situation, when she said, "Oh, he was verbally doing this and physically doing that," turned out to be a circus, right? So I think we cannot base what we're seeing in our community based off what we're seeing with these celebrity cases, because that's all. There's all different types of motives behind those instead of like what we see in our community. So that would be my answer to that. My personal opinion, I don't think these high profile cases are helping. If anything, it's making it worse.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think society has kind of normalized that behavior as well, because going back to Blueface and Krishan, like they're literally beating the hell out of each other on television where people can witness this, and then they back lovey-dovey together, and then they beating each other. He's just blatantly disrespecting her. And then I saw him on TikTok with another young lady that he's impregnated. He's blatantly in the house calling this girl, he's telling her, "You my bitch, you my hoe, you my bitch." Like he's calling her and degrading her to her face. And and at one time I used to, be so like judgmental, like if I was that person, I'll do this. If I was that person, I'll do it. But when you're in these types of situations where you have been, what I'm gonna say, your heart has literally been stolen from you. I call them soul snatchers. Your soul has been snatched by you. Somebody has manipulated you. They know, and as I say, it to me is the fact of the why women subject themselves to these situations and get caught up into where they feel a need to lie or they feel a need to feel seen, is because they've been manipulated, and that's also a form of abuse. That emotional abuse.
Yeah, no, definitely. With you, I think there's this notion that you gotta put your hands on somebody for it to be considered domestic violence, and that is the furthest from the truth. They got domestic violence perpetrators out there. They ain't never laid a hand on their spouse. But it's the verbal abuse. It's how you making that person feel like there's no way out of this relationship. And going back to my law enforcement career, that's the number one thing I used to see. And I'm gonna just put this out there for any of the males or gentlemen watching. This strictly, I hate when I bring up domestic violence. My peers say, "Oh, well, men get are victims too." Yes, there are male victims out there, but it's not as prevalent. So I just want to make that clear. Because why are you not talking about the dudes? Yes, there's male victims out there, but the majority of domestic violence victims are women. So I'm gonna stick to that. So I just wanted to get that out the way. But I'll go on calls, and the female, I'll stick to this one call specifically that I remember. Call comes out. Let me take y'all into police officer world real quick. First of all, domestic violence in New Orleans PD is called, it's a let's just say it's a battery. That's a code 35. When they throw a D on the back of it, now it's a battery domestic. So a regular 35 battery, oh, you would take that all day. That's some guy at the bar, some dude knocked into him. He was drunk. He punched him in the face. You could go on that call, give them a ticket, let them walk away, squash. Oh, you don't want to press charges? Cool, and walk away. Once that D get thrown on the back of there, you don't got no discretion. They ain't no, oh, you go stay with your mama, you go by your sister, have somebody. Somebody going to jail. Some type of action is being taken. And that's why when the dispatcher called on that really, we got a 35D at such and such location, crickets. It get quiet on already. No officer want to go because they know, man, it's gonna be something. I ain't trying to get on that. Domestic violence calls is the most I would say up there with traffic stops for a police officer. And any police officer who watching or may if I was having this call, they would agree. Up there with traffic stops, domestic violence is probably the most dangerous call you could go on as an officer, because it's not like I'd rather go on a bank robbery because that ain't personal. You know the motive behind it. They trying to get some money, blah, blah, they ain't trying to get caught. When you go on a domestic violence call, you stepping into somebody else's house, into somebody else's personal life with somebody they maybe have known their whole life, and try to tell them, oh, this how we go do it with your woman or with your man. They don't care what you wearing on your uniform badge or not. You ain't about to come in here and tell me how to deal with my woman. So the tension is already up there. So you gotta know how to go in there and play it right. A lot of shootouts, a lot of police shootouts and police officers getting killed happen on domestic violence calls. So when you get there, you emotions already high, right? So I went on this one called Girl Beaten Up Bad, and she was beaten up so bad I took it personal. Like, oh, give me the description. I'll go find him right now. I'm gonna go get him. Couldn't find the guy. Come back. You ask these questions. Because you got a domestic violence checklist you got to go through when you go on a domestic violence call and ask them. You got to check off these boxes. So the main thing I used to always say, well, what's your attachment to this man? A lot of domestic violence victims, they're attached financially. They're attached, they got a child or multiple children. They have been alienated from their family and friends, from society sometimes. That's the number one sign for me when you're looking at the red flags, right? And this particular victim didn't have any children with the dude. She had family and friends, she had support. So I was just kind of like, why what you staying with him for? Like, you could leave, and she just really didn't have an answer. So to me, that told him he had a grip on her mentally, So I always wondered, as a DV victim from a female perspective, like, what is it that's keeping them trapped in this situation mentally?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that, but I want to address Dr. Bird. Dr. Bird said it's not prevalent because males are viewed differently, and he said shame and pride are part of the reasons to the numbers being reported. You think that's true?
No. I think it's true in a sense that, yes, like I said, I don't want to be misconstrued and say there aren't male victims out there. But if you have to bet your life on it, or there are more, and when I'm talking about more, I'm talking about a big gap between domestic violence victims that are female versus male. I'm not saying that there aren't any male victims out there. This is true. But I mean, and yes, the numbers, not everybody reports everything, but the statistics say otherwise, I want to see what JB said. Yeah, so shout out to JB. He a college buddy of mine. We played football together. One of my best friends. We still talk to this day. We done had this group chat for 10 years. So he just commented and said something piggybacking off what I said about domestic violence calls being unpredictable situations. And a lot of the times, and this is true, you go as an officer, you'll go on that call, hey, y'all need to do this, you'll give them some advice. The next day, the victim back with the perpetrator. You know, I
So,
done had a girl jump on me one day because I'm taking the boyfriend to jail because he done beat her up. She jump on my back. Like, what you
mm,
doing? And you call me. You know, but that's what it is. That's what it is. Because after I take him to jail, do my little report, I get to go home. Or I got another call that may not have nothing to do with domestic violence. She got to deal with that. He got to deal with that the next day, or when he get out of jail, or when they go to the next family reunion or barbecue or birthday party or baby shower. I'm done. So I understand that. It's like, okay, officer, you was here tonight, but where you gonna be tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that? When he get out of jail, he might be cool for the first couple of weeks, but then come mad day, he gonna put his hands on me. But I gotta keep calling you. One day it's gonna be too late.
but I mean, with domestic violence, it is a repetitive cycle. So it's a cycle with abuse, because abuse always and is in like it is very repetitive. Like the victim the knows the cycle, so you become accustomed to an abusive cycle. You know when it's starting, when it's going to start, what triggers it. You become accustomed to that. Like, because Dr. Bird mentioned, and he just spoke to what you said about, um you were talking about the girl jumped on your back and started fighting you. So in fact, I mean, you might want to say she's an abuser as well. So then it's together. So Dr. Bird is saying, there are plenty of male victims out there. Yes, I mean, they are plenty of male victims, but how often do males call the police and say that a woman has beat them or broke them? Or I had a client on one of my one of the places I was working, and the client was an elderly gentleman, and he was letting this lady, I guess he had some kind of relationship with her. When he didn't want to deal with her anymore, by him being an elderly guy, she started beating on him. She was a younger woman, and they probably were out there drinking or whatever, and she tricking for a couple of little, like the little funky 40, like they say. So she breaks this man elbow, and she hit him in the leg with a hammer. And then she had started bullying him because she knew that he would not fight her back. So he was scared to go to his apartment.
Okay,
And
Hey, and let
so
me go ahead. Go ahead.
I was listening to all that. I had to step away to get my charger, but it's abuse is everywhere. And like I saw somebody comment on here, and y'all were talking that males are abused as well. They all are abused, and so that's why in my um with my business and the title that I gave it, with the faith empowerment awareness, to look at it from a biblical standpoint, from a faith base, to love like Christ and to love like others. And so when you are talking to people crazy, in a sense, that's emotional, that's verbal abuse. So that's when Justin talked about different types of abuse. That's verbal. So you're talking to somebody, the goal is to talk to somebody the way that you want to be spoken to. So I take a different twist on it to bring it, to help people to bring a better life, so people can truly understand what is happening. Like, and men can be abused. I've seen it. And remember when we did the call like last year sometime, when your friend was talking about it? Yeah, men do get abused. A lot of times they don't talk about it because they're embarrassed. They don't want to talk, or they don't want to know that a woman will beat their butt. They don't want to talk about that. They're not gonna bring it out. And like in reference to beating somebody up, smashing, and I had to do this for my own self, looking at it from that perspective, because I would put my hands on you if I had to. I'm 6'1" person, so you're not gonna play with me. And so I had to look at it and change my mindset and change my perspective. And then I grew up, so I have children. So then now I have to look at how I want my children, what I want my children to see, how I want to raise my kids. If I put my hands on somebody, then I'm going to jail. Who's going to care for my kids? Yada, yada. So They can be abused. I done seen it with my own eyes multiple times, just in friend groups where smashing windows, putting their hands on them, cutting them up. Like it can happen. They just embarrassed and they don't want to talk about it. And I promise you, I would have been one of them women beating you up because you're not gonna play with me. You're not gonna play in my face. But we grew
Hello.
up in a different era. We grew up in a different era.
Yes, that
So you're just not gonna do that. But now the playing in your face, that's acceptable. That's tolerated. That's the norm. Even in my own personal life, recently I've had something where I had to like step back out of myself and look at the situation through a different lens. Because had I not, it would have been very bad for me and the other party involved. So
not
that's
quite.
Well,
just
look,
addressing that. And then two of the gentlemen, I see two gentlemen popping up on our screen saying, yeah, we all are victims, yes. And then the other gentleman said something about smashing windows and slashing tires and all that kind of stuff. That's true. Oh, and what else he said? Men are taught not to physically attack women, so men tend to suffer in silence. Yeah, some of them do suffer in silence, but then there's some of them that's just wild out and they don't care and they just put their hands on you. But then it goes back to sometimes, like your Dr. Bird was saying, how they grow up, the trauma that has happened. And you mentioned something just now to me because I told you I didn't have like a pattern that was making me wonder, well, like what's wrong with me? But I don't know, I look at the whole person and not just like little small things. But just look at the whole person. But my dad died when I was 11. So when you said that statistic, I was like, I wonder if I have some trauma that I haven't resolved because I didn't go to therapy for that. I just like kind of like went through the motions. But maybe that's the thing. Like maybe I'm looking for, or was at that point. I'm not now, but maybe I was looking for my deceased dad
You
in
were
the
looking for
mid.
a protector.
Yes.
We would
So
you
that's the thing. So we don't know what is going on in people's minds and things of like that.
so look, I'm gonna say this, because I saw the men with their comments, and I know when we talk, because I mean one episode, we talked about religion. That's a touchy subject. Today we talk about domestic violence. I don't want to come across as as if I'm downplaying the male victims that are out there, right? I was just trying to say, as far as this conversation was going, that the things that's coming out of my mouth were more directed to female victims, because we know as a society we cater more to the female victims because they're females, right?
Yes. Yes.
But while we're on that topic, I had said earlier that I got some stories that I've been a part of where I was the victim. I didn't call. I'm gonna give y'all one of them. This was why I was a police officer too. So I was dealing with this chick years ago, and it was my off night. I worked nights. I love working nights. She wanted to hang out. She wanted to come to the crib. I ain't gonna lie, I lied. I said, nah, I got work tonight. So for real, I was like, yeah, I got work tonight. I didn't have work that night. But I'm like, yo, I had a long week of work. I ain't have no other girl overnight. I just wanted to have a night to myself. To myself. That's all, peace and quiet. I've been dealing with domestic violence and shooting bank robbery. I don't got time tonight. I just want to watch Disney Plus, order Red Lobster to go, and have a night to myself. That's all I wanted. So I lied. I said I got work. An hour later, I had the app with the doorbell where you could see it on your phone. Look at my phone. Guess who outside?
The crazy girl.
The girl.
The crazy girl.
I said, Lord, you got two options. I said, bro, you can act like you sleep or like you not here, or you at work, or you go answer the door. I was like, well, my car outside. She know I ain't at work now. I should have parked in the garage.
You
But
could have
I didn't think she was gonna drive. I live in Slidell. She lived, I don't know where she drove damn near 45 minutes. So she came, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna go open the door. I opened the door. I ain't gonna lie, I was expecting, oh, you lying motherfucker, or this and that. She didn't say nothing. She walked straight past me into my
You
house.
should know about that.
Just straight walked past me in my house. Checked every door, every closet, under the bed, the backyard, the laundry room, every bathroom. I had a 4-bedroom house and it was only me. So she was like, yo, if you hiding somebody in here, I'm gonna find it. She checked everywhere. Then finally she looked at me. I was like, see, I don't got nobody in here. And she charged at me and just started wailing on me. Now, fellas, I'm saying this for a reason. If you find yours, I'm giving you some advice, some things that'll help you out in the courtroom. Stephon Diggs found his ass in this situation. When something like this happened to you, instantly, you pull out your phone. You pull out your phone and you start recording. Now, I ain't do that. Because I'm like, technically, I know I'm off duty. I'll take your ass to jail right now for a battery on a police officer. She's swinging at me. But look, another thing, fellas. Don't touch. I let her hit, and that's why I think I said that when I was talking about the men. Like most of the time, not everybody, because I ain't a big dude, but I got some muscle. Like she hit me, and I'm taking it. I'm not gonna hit her back because I know she not hurting me. She's hurt, but she not hurting me. So I'm kind of taking it. I'm kind of like throwing my hand, like, yo, chill. She finally stopped. She started crying. And when she started crying, she actually apologized. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't know. I was like, yeah, chill out. And then everything was good. I never talked to her ass after that again.
But I'm glad you didn't, because that was
yeah. Because I know you crazy, right? The next story. This is one a little bit more. I only told this story to about 2 or 3 people, and I debated whether I was going to tell this story here because it could be looked at certain ways, but I'm not scared. I know I was in the right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. When I left NOPD in 2020, I moved to California. I went to go join another police department, but I was in the process. I was in the hiring process. That could take about 3 months, right? So in the middle of the process, I started talking to this other chick. She knows I'm in the process. She know, hey, you just came. Oh, you was a police officer. I'm going to the other police department. I'm in the process. I used to go to her house all the time. I go to her house. She want to have sex. I don't. I'm not up to it. So she getting her feelings. Mind you, I don't mean to grab her. She's naked right now. I'm like, look, you want to do all this? Let me leave. I'm trying to leave. This girl gets in front of the door. She gets in front of the door and she blocks it and says, "You're not going anywhere." Fellas, listen to me. I ain't about to throw my life away. I'm in another project. I can't have this on. No. I took out that phone. I start recording. She said, "You can't record me. I'm naked right now. You don't have my permission." Look, let me go. And nobody don't got to see this. But right now, I'm talking to the camera, fellas. Look, hey, I'm recording this. My name is such and such. I'm here at this address. This the chick in question. I'm talking to the camera like it's a body camera because this evidence. So I'm talking to the camera. She not gonna leave. So I go to the door. I'm like, hey, please let me leave. She smacks my phone out my hand. The phone go flying across the room. I go over to get my phone. So to get my phone, I have to bend down on the ground to get my phone. She jumps on my back. When she jumps on my back, I kind of do like the little, so she goes flying off my back. Boom. Hit the floor. It's an apartment, second floor, so it's a loud thud. Boom. I grab my phone. I open the door. I run out. I go down the stairs. I get in my car. I'm gone. I'm like, I'm driving home. Thank God I'm out of that situation, right? 30 minutes on the road, I get a phone call. Hello, it's the chick's sister. Justin, I can't believe you put your hands on my sister, blah, blah, blah. I said, whoa. I'll turn this bitch back around, whip this bitch on the interstate. We go get this cleared. I don't do that. That ain't me. That ain't my character. And you about to mess up my reputation. I put a look, I'm gonna come back. We go. So she's like, yeah, come back right now. So I turn around. I'm going back. I'm getting off the interstate. The way this specific interstate is set up is that you could see her apartment complex and everything down because it's sitting up top. There was a gas station right next to her apartment complex. 2 police cruisers are sitting right out there. I said,
she called the police on you after?
So look, I ain't gonna say she. I'm gonna get to that. Somebody called the police is what I'm thinking. But yeah, right now, 99.9% sure it's her, right? So when I get off the interstate, I go right back on the interstate. I'm not about to go because I know I was a cop for 5 years with domestic violence. They ain't trying to hear nothing I gotta say. I'm going straight to jail. Negative. Off the interstate, back up on the interstate. I call my dad. Oh, my life is over. I'm going to jail. Blah, blah, blah. I get home. I lied to you not. I'm waiting for the cops to come to my house and arrest me. Because what happens is, I want everybody to notice, as a police officer, say you go on a DV call and the victim is only there. Whatever accusation they make, that's some sort of crime, if the second party, if the person being accused is not on scene and you can't get in touch with them to get their statement, I can't speak for no other state, but I'm pretty sure it's like this too. But I know when I work for NOPD, automatic warrant. Automatic warrant. You don't know, I don't care if she don't got no bruises, no nothing. If she said, hey, I came home from work, he ain't like that, I overcooked the baked beans or whatever, so he slapped me in the face and ran out the house. You don't see no bruise, you can't get in touch with him to see his warrant. Put that warrant out. So a couple of weeks later, you could pull a dude over, run his name. Hey, bro, you got a warrant for domestic. What? Who? He don't even know. And he ain't even have a chance to stay his case, right? So anywho, I'm driving back home, coming, yeah, my life. I'm sitting at the house waiting for the police because she probably told him, hey, this is his name. This is where he lived. Oh, guess what? He used to be a police officer and he's currently in the hiring process with this police department right now. Go get him. And they looking at that like, oh, yeah, we want this dude, right? So I'm sitting in the house laying on the floor like I'm on my deathbed, like waiting for the doorbell to ring. The longest day of my life. They never came. I didn't talk. Of course, I'm not talking to her. I had to contact a bail bondsman. I don't know people know you could do this. You could contact a bail bondsman. Sometimes they charge, sometimes they don't. Luckily, this doing charge me and ask them, hey, I got any warrants out? It may take them a couple of hours, sometimes a day or two. They'll come back and tell you, yeah, bro, you got such and such, or now you clean. He came back and told me, hey, bro, now you don't got nothing out. I'm like, okay, cool. So I hit up the chick like, yo, what happened? So she said this. When she flew off my back and that loud thump had from her hitting the floor, the neighbors heard it, heard the yelling and stuff, and called the police because they thought I was in there whooping her ass. So they called the police. She called her sister. Sister came because the sister said, Justin, you choked her and all this and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, now you're lying. So the police I end up getting hired by the police department because they do a thorough background check. You can't have you applying for any type of law enforcement. You can't have none of that shit. DV anything? Sorry. They going to the next person. So what that told me when I got hired and I passed the background check, whatever report she made that day, and I'm still kind of, I'm still like almost flabbergasted by this today. Whatever she told them, they did not believe it because, like I said, I don't know the other law because I was in California at this time, but I'm pretty sure it's the same place. If the perpetrator or the accused is not there to give their statement, they can't get in touch with you. Whatever that person says, almost 90% of the time, a warrant going out, and I ain't have no warrant. Best believe I ain't never talked to that chick again. But fellas, I'm saying all this to say, yes, males are victims of domestic violence. That's 2 stories for you, for me. But what you get out of this is, unless she a fatal threat, she got a gun, a knife, sometime that could kill you, you don't need to hit her back. Because she could throw 40 strikes at you. As soon as you give her that, and they call her, you going to jail. Because you stronger, you the man, and it's already that societal bias. So the best thing you could do is whip out your phone and record everything. You know, and even though that the officers never got to see my recording, if they did come to me or I did get arrested and I had to go to court, hey, I got evidence. Y'all wasn't there, but look, I got this camera to show what happened. So that's my. I know I was talking for a while, but I just think I had to get that story out because I think there's some learning lessons in that, and just to point out that yes, there are male DV victims out there. I was it.
Yeah,
I was one twice.
yeah, you know, and I think, and I'm not gonna say this, is like when you typically see someone that suffers from some type of abuse, it's always a person that the other person feels as though they can dominate. Because if I'm a person that's been inflicted with abuse, and I have, and that's narcissistic behaviors right there, where you feel like you have the need to be in control and you have the need to be dominant over other people. So that's a classic trait of narcissistic behaviors. And from my investigative skills, because I started out as a forensic social worker, right? I used to write dispositions in my early life when I was just spit out of grad school. So I heard so many different stories and had to put these stories together and make them make sense where I could present it to the court to make it sound like this was the perfect human being and they should not go to jail regardless of whatever crime they committed. So I really have a good listening ear for like the turn, you know, where I need to tune in at and where it sound like bullshit. So this is the like I believe her sister called the police. I believe the person, and I hope you never talk to her again because I mean the neighbor downstairs, and this is just my perspective. The neighbor downstairs heard a thump. If you live downstairs,
You hear
every
thumps
now
all the
and then
time.
you gonna hear thumps all the time. So
All the
that's a
time.
lie. That's your first lie right there. After that lie right there, I wouldn't have had anything. I would have tuned out of that conversation because now you're playing with me. Okay, you take me to be stupid. So what happened was she was upset. You left. Her sister called in the process, and you know when we talk to people we really comfortable with, sometimes we exaggerate these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
you
by
don't want
her
to
being
get
as if
hurt.
upset she was, what happened was her sister probably said, "Girl, did he hit you?" She said, "Girl, I jumped on his back. He threw me down." Because I had a little episode like that with one of my little boos. Like he worked, like we were out there, like my grandma used to say skylarking. You know, y'all, I don't know if y'all ever heard of that word, skylarking. And she used to always says, "Don't be skylarking with people because that could turn out serious, right?" You know, your parents used to tell you that. So we out there. So I was getting a little rough because my intention was I knew he was at a bar with another girl. So I was out. And the thing of it is, I wasn't Facebook friends with him, but my friends were Facebook friends with him. So my friends were online. I'm looking at the Facebook page, right? So I'm scrolling. I see he's out and about with this girl. But then you call me. I couldn't wait to get to his ass. I couldn't wait. He was like, "I'm on my way to your house, baby." I never made it from Kenner, except for when I had to go pick up my mom. I never made it from Kenner to Gentilly in 2.5 seconds because I wanted to make sure I was there when he got there because I did not want to miss his ass at all. Because, like you said, you thought the girl was gonna come in there and call him lies and stuff like that. So I'm telling him, "Yeah, I know you was at the party, you know, you calling me and this, that, and other." And he looking at me like, "What are you talking about? I was not at a party." So he get, you know, so he's playing around with me, you know, like playing a little rough. We start. So me, I'm serious. Like I'm like literally trying to choke this. I'm trying to choke him up, right? But I'm little. He's big. So what he does is, so I started getting a little rough. So he kept saying, "Girl, get off me, get off." I wouldn't get off him. He picks me up and kind of flips me over. After he did that, I was like, "I know you didn't just try to slam me on the ground. Oh no, you did it." My son was out there looking at the whole effort, everything that happened. So my son was like, "Mom, I can't believe you was acting that aggressive with somebody.
Okay.
Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? You were really aggressive. But in my mind, I was like, I was trying to do something like you heard me, but he was playing. I was serious, and he caught on that my licks was a little bit harder than what they should have been. So to get me off of him, because I literally just ran on him, right? So to get me off of him, he literally just took me and he picked me up because he was able to pick me up. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, stop. And I was trying to get out his arms. And he, we twisting and turning. So I guess he said, I'm gonna show her something. But I mean, and all he's like, he just literally took my body and flipped me over. But I landed on my feet. And I took that as, oh no, nigga, you trying to hurt me. You would have swore to God that he was trying to kill me out there. But I really started that situation because I was the aggressor in that moment.
So you real quick, because you bring up a great point, and I may get the not the definition, but the words, because like I've been out of law enforcement, police for years now, so I kind of remember. But I remember going on DD calls. I said we had a checklist, and I remember primary aggressor, but I think the other one was predominant. And as an officer, that was one of the things you had to look at. So let's just take your scenario, Kecia. If the police got called and I had to go on that call, and you took, because what you do is you separate the parties, right? You and 99.9%, actually 100% of the time, with domestic calls, you gotta have a partner. Like you can't be just one officer that they send somebody else with you. So you'll have one officer talk to one party, the other officer talk to the other party. So of course he giving us his story, right? Hey man, she thought I was doing such and such, so she came and attacked me. I was letting her hit me first, but then I had enough and I kind of pushed her aside. Everybody saw it. Look, you go ask him. We're like, all right, cool. Your story, and I'm not saying you would say this, but a lot of times we're like, yeah, I thought it was you. I came in. You would have thought it was a Mike Tyson. like the way the women would tell the story was like, yo, he whooped my ass, and then he threw me into the truck and blah blah blah, and this and that, right? So you hearing all this, right? And so you always had to determine, okay, primary and predominant. So primary is like who started it, right? But like predominant was, okay, someone may have started it, but if you caught me cheating and you came and run up on me and you was hitting me, blah, 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 like I gave you the incident with the chick who broke into my house damn near. If she did all that and I punched her and she fell to the ground, and then I crip walk all over her face and curb stomped her and dropped the people's elbow on her, even though she the primary aggressor, I'm gonna go to jail, because at that point I'm the predominant aggressor now, because I did more than defending myself. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at your situation, I try to think, like, if I was a cop and I had to go on that call, who would be going to jail? I'm sorry, Kecia, you probably going to jail.
Well, I know, because I was the aggressor. I just said I was really aggressive, and he was like, "Girl, get off of me." And for my son to recognize that, I was like, "Okay, yeah, that was a little bit."
Hopefully the cops wasn't called.
No, the cops wasn't called. I mean, I eventually let him go because he was trying to leave, and he was in his aunt's Mercedes, right? Or his cousin's Mercedes truck, so he had to bring the car back. So he come around here stunting in it. Now you done been all over the neighborhood, so every woman you know stunting in this lady Mercedes truck because you like the truck, or whoever truck you was in. You come to my house in his vehicle. So I kind of did what your girl did. I stopped him. I literally he got in the car. And I sat on top of him in front of the steering wheel. And he said, I'm about to leave. I said, well, you can leave. Go ahead and drive off. He said, I can't see with you sitting on it. You want to leave. Well, and Trina said, she has sons, and I have a son as well. And I've always taught my son not to hit women, but women can always swing on men, like you were saying, Justin. And, it seems like it's all right most of the time, because I think most of the laws that we have out today, they're designed to kind of cater to the most popular the population in which we think is the most vulnerable at that time, right? Because I don't really think that the law enforcement really protects women from domestic violence at all. And I agree with Trina. She said people should keep your hands to yourself. Both parties should keep their hands to themselves. But some people don't know how to communicate in no other way other than to put their hands on each other, and behaviors are taught.
That's the problem.
The gentleman said, so you traumatized your son. Yeah, you probably did, because you telling him don't touch people, but you touching on people.
Yeah, exactly. But I was emotional and I was younger than Dr. Vera. So, now you can't pay me to do that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I
I'm
look
gonna
at
say
it.
this. I'm sorry to interrupt. I gotta say this because I kind of seeing some energy from the male chat. Nobody specific, and I know I kind of started this show kind of almost downplaying the male victims, and I don't want to come across that way. But I had to say this.
No,
I even gave 2 stories.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't.
Okay, yeah. But I gotta look, men, because the Trina, the one comment before they said, "Oh, it hurts to show that they got baby mamas or girlfriends that can hit on them and they can't hit back." Let me tell y'all something. I'm a down this hill. There are double standards in society. And you can't, no matter if you like them or dislike them, that's just the way it is. And there's pros and cons to each side. As a man, unless there is some type of fatal danger where you being hit on or struck by a woman where it's this gonna be a fatal wound or she gonna kill you, knock her out. I believe, but 99.9% of the time, that is not the case. And you should restrain. You should restrain, number one, because most of the time you're bigger and stronger. 2, because I'm telling you, I've seen it. You go to jail, whether she was the primary aggressor or not. So you got to think about it from the justice, the criminal justice side as well. Is that a double standard? Is that sexist or whatever you want to call it? It may be. But that's just what it is. As a man, you should never, ever, ever put your hands on a woman unless your life is in danger. She got a knife. If she got a gun, Mike Tyson her.
And that goes for a child as well.
Yeah,
yes, but for a child as well. Because sometimes you have to use restraint, and I want people to understand the difference between physically imposing harm on someone intentionally with the intent to hurt or restraining someone, because you can't restrain people as service workers. So there's a big difference between if I'm attacking this person to hold them in bondage to cause physical harm to them, or to restrain this person to stop them from causing harm on me. So that's a big difference, because 9 times out of 10, when we're restraining from harming someone or stopping someone from harming us, we usually go into a guarded stance, which is usually we're going to block and we're going to hold that person back to keep that person at a distance from us. Because if a person is coming at you with a weapon, you want to always maintain that space between you, or where you can get into a safe space where that person can't cause harm to you. Because the whole purpose of the matter is for you to be the survivor. Because when a person is enraged, it's just as if that's a person that is distributing psychotic behaviors at that time. So they're no longer in a present state of mind.
No, Dr. Burr, he said eliminate the threat and deal with that consequences later. He gonna have to elaborate. I don't want to jump to no conclusion. You gonna have to elaborate on that, brother. I don't know what that means, but like I said, fellas,
it is what I said. Eliminate the threat and deal with the consequences later. Because sometimes when we are in a defense mode, that's just like if someone breaks into your home, and that person, and you have a gun in your hand, that person charges towards you. In a self-defense class, you are not taught to kill that person. You're trying to injure that person enough to stop them from harming you. And that's the same thing if you were in a domestic violence situation, or you a social worker and go to someone's home, or in the service industry, a police officer. Because I know when this is my thing to protect myself. If I have to do a home visit, this is protection. I'm going to knock on your door and I'm going to stand back from the door. I'm not going to stand in the door like I know you, waiting on you to open the door, because if I don't know you, I don't know what type of mindset you're in, and I want to be able to escape the danger. But the thing is, if I have to protect myself in that moment, and that sometimes that's by any means necessary, then we're going to have to face the consequences later.
Okay, so look, because Dr. Bird, he clarified what he said. At first, I was shocked because I didn't know what he's referring to, but from your clarification, the scenario you just gave, I kind of see where y'all going with this. Now, speaking, like he just said, stand your ground. Okay, cool. When somebody breaking into your house, of course, I 100% agree with y'all. But if we talking about domestic violence, we got to remember that 100% of domestic violence cases, you know this person. They're a family member, they're intimate partner, a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, baby mama, baby daddy, whatever. That eliminate the threat and deal with the consequences later statement kind of sound easier to say here than a stranger breaking into your house, because you don't got to think about that. Pop, pop, pop. But when you dealing with somebody you got feelings for and care about, that thought process, it's gonna take a while. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot more. Let me say this. When you look at murders, when it comes to domestic violence, and like I said, I've seen these. I've been on calls with the investigated these things. You'll see the man, he'll catch the woman doing, he's mad at the woman or whatever. He got a gun pointed at her. One of these clips actually went viral. This man called his wife cheating, and he's standing outside in his robe, belly all out, with damn near a shotgun holding up to the side. And she's recording it. That's how comfortable she is. If this is a stranger holding a shotgun to her 2 inches from her face, she running, she calling the phone. No, she got her camera out like, what you about to do? Boom! Killed her right there on the spot. So I'm saying that to say, she wasn't looking at her husband or her spouse like, oh, you not about to do this. I mean, that you about to do this. She's so comfortable with him that, oh, you not about to pull this trigger, but he did it. So it's deeper than that is what I'm trying to say. When you dealing with your significant other, when you dealing with somebody with these emotional ties, and that's why we see a lot of victims not going anywhere. Domestic violence is one of the most mind-boggling from a psychological perspective things. When you look at it, you're just like, damn, this dude beating you up or this woman beating you up, why you don't leave? And 99% of the time, the reasoning for it is unreasonable. And there are rational reasons. Oh, well, we got a kid together. Oh, I'm trying to do it for the kids. I don't got nowhere. Yes. But it's still, it's crazy to me. So I understand what y'all saying with the, eliminate the threat. But as you can see, it ain't that easy to just, it's just not, those situations it's tough.
Well,
No,
I think
it's not easy.
I think every situation is different, right? Because I think it's different levels to this stuff. Because you have these situations where both of us are toxic and we inflict that toxic behavior amongst both of us. both of us are, we just crazy. That's how we love. Everybody love different. We beat the hell out of each other. We get together, but it's both parties inflicting that on each other. It's not just one. It's not a one-sided thing where that person is in control. Because 9 times out of 10, most of the women that in domestic violence situations, and I get calls of a woman that's actively escaping domestic violence. Really and truly, these people need to start all over with their lives.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that means that they need jobs because they're totally codependent on the person that is literally triggered to kill them at any moment. And I know it's getting late, y'all. So it's like it's 8:11. But I just want to leave y'all with this story. And this is something that raised awareness to me from a teenager. I have a couple of things that happened. So like when I was maybe about 13 years old, they had it maybe about 13, 14. I know I was a young teenager. They had this little girl that lived across the street from me on the corner. I lived on Elysian Fields. So their house was on the corner of Elysian Fields and Urquhart. Her and this little boy, they did everything together. That little boy was always at the house. They was always together. Now, when we that age, y'all know it is totally not normal for no little boy and girl to be together like that. So they were totally codependent on each other. When you saw one, you saw the other one. It was like they was married. They was an old couple. So the girl tried to break up with him. He goes to the girl's house, knocks on the door, goes in the people's house. He kills this little girl, and then he shoots himself. So she's about my age, and he was maybe about 16 years old. So he was already a troubled kid in the neighborhood. They had totally different backgrounds and foundations in their lives. And, just to say this with, females or males out here that are with women that are overly controlling, because when you're in something that doesn't feel right, male or female, we know these things. And what love is supposed, you see other people that don't have issues, please don't make excuses and say everybody go through something. Everybody does go through, everybody got their own shit. But when it comes down to the point where you don't have your own self, you don't own your own self anymore, that's when it's an issue. When you don't recognize who you are in the mirror anymore, that is an issue. So you're not, and being married to someone and totally submitting yourself to someone and being abused emotionally, because it starts emotionally with the verbal abuse, the intimidation, the gaslighting. It all starts there. And then it's somewhere down the line, it potentially can become a physical thing, because when a man or an abusive person is only acting out on the hate for themselves, regardless of whatever they have going on, that's a them thing. You can't, and I just want to say this because I'm saying all this to say, you can't fix people. You cannot fix people. People have to do the work on themselves in order to heal. You cannot heal someone. You cannot be someone's, because then you become that person's crutch. So you don't want to give someone the excuse to every time they have a bad day, you giving them permission to come and abuse you because you feel like, oh, he needs somebody there for them. Or her mama never done her right. That's why I'm spoiling her. That's why I let her do me the things, because abuse looks differently. It comes in many forms and fashion. It's not just physically. And I know when the police officers go out, they tend to look like the physical abuse is the thing that they're mostly looking for. Nobody looks for that mental abuse, the verbal abuse, the emotional torture that someone does to you with the manipulation.
Real
So
quick. Oh, go ahead, Kecia. I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Go ahead.
So, but I'm gonna let y'all say something. But I just want to get this point across because I know when we are people that are givers, and you know there are people that are takers. That taker is gonna be a taker for the rest of them for the rest of their life. There's nothing you can do to change that person. And I don't want nobody out there thinking that I'm not good enough, or if I was only doing this, this wouldn't happen. I just want y'all to know that you are enough for you. And whatever is going on with that person, however they treat you, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with that person. And the only way that you can help them is to recommend that they get the help that they need. And if they can't get the help that they need, then you need to start working on yourself to heal yourself, so you don't be codependent on a person that you know won't ever treat you right. That person is gonna be who they are until they begin to recognize who they are. So that was my final words. Go ahead, Johan, and just
Oh, well, I wanted to. We've been talking about the domestic violence. We touched on some of the forms, so I just wanted to touch base and give additional forms of abuse, sexual abuse, sexual coercion, reproductive abuse, medical abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse, uh, coercive control, spiritual or religious abuse, stalking, as well as cyber abuse. And that's some of them. I mean, I'm quite sure there are others, but
We
those are
got
like,
thousands of different types of abuse, right?
yeah, they're all different kind, but those are some. And then victims
Yeah.
of domestic violence can be children, spouses, significant others, dating partners, extended family members, or even pets. And so just be mindful of how you communicate and treat others, treat people the way you want to be treated. And when you asked me earlier about the topic, what I thought about, I did do a little research. I had some just came across, and it was Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne actually was abusing his wife. While he was married, he was abusing his wife.
that
While,
Lawrence girl. That
while, while
Wait a minute, I
no,
gotta go
true
get the
story, y'all.
evidence.
True
I need the
story.
evidence.
True story. He said that he was abusing his wife while he was doing Tina Turner. When he was filming Tina Turner, he was actually that person, and he felt as though that was a mirror for him. So we was just talking about the mirror, and that was a mirror for him, and that was a wake up call for him to treat his wife better. They're divorced now, but he mentioned in the interview that he felt like that's why his older daughter Montana was into adult
Abuse of
movies and
men?
stuff like that.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's
Yeah.
basically what you were saying, Kecia. When you experience something so young, it's traumatic, you get stuck with certain things. So this child was probably experiencing that around those ages, the 10, 11, 12 age group. She witnessed that he was actually doing it while he was filming the movie. He was a real life Ike Turner. And that, so yes, for sure. And Justin was
Not
talking about
Lawrence.
doing the, yes, Lawrence.
That's
And
crazy. That's good. I'm glad you brought that up. That's some good information.
And he was Justin was talking about doing video cameras and making sure you're able to video certain things. Sometimes you can videotape. If you can't videotape, you need to write it down. You need to keep yourself a running log. That way you'll have something to fall back on. And all the other types of abuse we've been discussing, you write it down, the date, the time, and write the experience that happened. That way that'll be one of your forms of documentation to support your case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was yeah. And I know we're running out of time, but look, let me answer. JB asked, yo, Justin, did you respond to a lot of women on women or man on man DV calls? That's an excellent question. And I'm not, because like I said, I know we got them time, so I'm gonna hit on this. Let me tell you something. JB, I did, and I'm gonna say this, and there is no probably statistics or evidence that you could go look up online that can support this. Maybe there is, but this is from my experience of what I saw. When it came to same-sex domestic violence, those were some of the most violent calls I've been on. They get down. They don't. It's I could remember some vivid ones where the situation people was fighting for their life after that is so. But yeah, that to answer your question, yes. Now mostly it was male female, but I think that's just because of the population and the demographics. But yeah, I went on a lot of that. And lastly, the last thing I'm gonna say before we get off, because I think it's important because I've been obsessed with that. I was obsessed with that Stephon Diggs trial, with the court case and the victim, the alleged victim, and her testimonies. Look, hey, and Jerome, he just co-signed that too. So, and he know what I'm talking about. So he I believe he was in law enforcement as well. But last thing I'm gonna say is as further to the court cases, I remember when I was a rookie, one of my first domestic violence calls, and when you're supposed to take pictures of the victim's injuries, and I had to do it on like a separate camera. You don't ever want to have evidence on your phone. They'll subpoena your whole personal phone, and then you don't got a phone for however long the case is. So we had to use like a separate camera to take these pictures. Take the pictures. Here's another thing people don't understand. You may have went on this call on March 10th, 2021. You might not get called to court for that same call until September 8th, 2024. And you got to testify for some shit that happened 3 years ago, right? So me and my partner at the time, we got to go to court for this case that happened 3 years ago. We don't remember the lady. We don't remember the perpetrator. We don't remember nothing out of the case. So, the prosecuting team, they'll come to you, hey, he go to report this what happened, blah, blah, blah. So I remember walking into the courtroom, and the defendant, the male, the one being accused, I over him talking to his lawyers. His lawyer's like, yeah, man, we gonna get you off. They ain't really doing a good job on the scene. They ain't really collect a lot of the evidence, yada, yada, yada. So I'm looking at our little prosecutor like, yo, is this true? Because I don't remember this happened 3 years ago. I'll never forget this. 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, when court started, the prosecution team walked into the courtroom. I cannot over exaggerate this. They had about 3 or 4 poster boards, like signs you'll see at a football game or a wrestling match, with photos of this lady's injuries, like blown up on this big ass thing. And I looked over at the dude, he just put his head down. I was like, that to me was interesting. Like nowadays, and I'm grateful for this. Domestic violence for all, like you said earlier, like you still feel like law enforcement don't do nothing. I'm gonna say they don't do as much as we should. We really don't. Because like I gave the example earlier, I'll go on a call. You may take the dude to jail, but I got more calls I gotta go handle. I get to go home. I don't got no spouse. I don't got no domestic violence. But what if they let him out tomorrow? He go back to that. It's stuff like that. It's like, yo, what can I do as a patrol officer after I leave that situation to make sure this victim's safe or this victim's getting ahead? I could give her 20 forms. What that's really gonna do if I'm not there consistently? So I do agree to a certain extent with what you're saying, but the justice system, as far as domestic violence, is way better off now than it was even 10 years ago, where sometimes some stuff could happen and the police would just come and be like, hey, you go to your mama house, you go to your sister, and that was it. But now with these murders striking up, where the aggressor or whatever are coming back to the house and offing their spouse, the rules and the laws, they change it. And that's why it's automatic. Hey, somebody going to jail. We don't care what happened. I took a 90-year-old man to jail for throwing an Oreo cookie at his wife. The cookie ain't even hit her. It just went in her direction. And I know in NOPD, that's assault, even though it's not battery because they ain't hit her, but he threw it in her direction and he meant harm. It flew past her. He went to jail. I had to take the cookie bag it up for evidence. Okay, I'm making that part up. I ain't the cookie part. I ain't
He
had to bag
needed
for
to go
evidence,
to jail because if that
but he
cookie
threw
would
the
have hit me,
cookie.
I would have beat the hell out of him over an
Man,
Oreo cookie. You waste a good
they,
Oreo
look, so
cookie. I love those
it,
cookies.
yeah. Then we would have had to take you to jail because then all he did because now he went from being the primary aggressive to you being the predominant aggressive. So now it's like, oh well, hey, he threw the cookie at her, but it missed. She got mad and beat the hell out of him. So now we taking her to jail. You know, it's just interesting with all that stuff. But yeah, that's all I gotta say because I know we run out of time. But
He said,
yeah,
not
this is definitely a good conversation tonight.
he said, not the
Yeah.
stuffed Oreo. That's what I'm talking about, Jen. Not the stuffed baby. Don't
Right, he
waste a
threw an Oreo
good
at her
Oreo
ass. I'll never
cookie.
forget that. And yeah, look, another thing, real violence used to be, and any other officers who watching this right now, they could attest to this. It used to be any family member and y'all residing in the same dwelling, they was used to call it. I used to take juveniles to jail because he got into a fight with his brother. It was crazy. It's just me and my brothers fought all the time. I ain't that I need to go to juvenile for, but yes, domestic violence used to be, hey, y'all live in the same house or y'all family, y'all got some type of blood, it's automatically considered domestic violence. But I know at least for New Orleans, they got rid of that because it was almost, I don't, for lack of a better word, waste of time. Like, hey, this 16-year-old got into a fight with his 14-year-old brother. Now we got to take him to juvenile, and now they got to go to court because it's domestic violence. They used to like, nah, that's kind of not the same. So they got rid of, but it used to be like that.
So y'all, so this is what I want to leave the audience with tonight. If you know of anyone that's suffering from domestic violence, or you yourself feel like you're in a domestic violence situation because only you know your circumstances, um, feel free to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233. It's up on the screen. And for you guys that are in Orleans Parish that are escaping domestic violence, you can also go to the Family Justice Center to seek legal help. They do take walk-ins. So, what's the address, y'all? Because we need to give these.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Yes, the New Orleans Family Justice Center, I believe, is on Porters, because I remember I used to have to.
Porters, but I had
Is in
that.
Porters, on Porters by the
Porters.
post office. Is in a building with that annex building by the post office on Porters. You know, it's a highly secured building. So when you walk in, the ladies that work for FJC are downstairs to kind of welcome you and do intake. So you can, and as I said, they do take walk-ins, and there are also shelters for you guys, where you can go and seek shelter if you feel like it's a bad night, because I know with some domestic violence situations it can be really, really bad sometimes. And you may need to, he may allow you to take a break, because some abusers allow the people that they're abusing to take a break from the situation because they feel like they are at the point where they have lost complete control. So if you feel like you're in that situation, like I said, we have the number down here you can call, and then you also can visit the Family Justice Center, which is on Porters, in the post office building, an annex. Those of you that know where the post office is on Porters, so the building sits here. This is the post office. Is the building that sits on the side. So it's a little L-shaped building. So the post office is here. This is the building you need to go to the first floor. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much, Johan, for joining us tonight. It's always a pleasure to see your beautiful face.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'll put the Justice Center in our chat. It's 701 Porters.
No, it's on Porters.
No, Loyola. 701 Loyola.
Loyola.
Okay,
Yeah. I wanted to make that correction. Yeah, it's on
Okay.
Loyola. Yeah, there you go.
So it's up. I'm sorry, guys, but it's up on the screen. The Family Justice Center is located at 7. And I don't know how I don't know this, I guess because I always walk around, I can just walk there from where I am. So I'm just walking up Porter. So excuse me,
Yeah, it looked like Poydras.
every street is
Yeah.
Porter.
Yeah, every
Somewhere
street is
Loyola
Poydras.
Avenue.
Yeah, it's on the
So,
corner somewhere. It's over there
yeah.
somewhere.
But I'm on Porter, and what is it? Chick-fil-A is on Loyola, right? I
Chick-fil-A
always
sound
get those.
good.
Yeah, Loyola. So, but anyway, it's Family Justice Center is located at 701 Loyola, in Suite 201, and it's New Orleans, Louisiana 70113. And you,
Yes, and they help you do everything there. They allow you to do everything, complete a report. They have therapists there to assist you, and they also have therapists for children as well. And they'll walk you through the steps so you're not alone in that process.
okay, guys. So with
Good
that being,
conversation tonight. Good conversation.
yeah,
Yes.
and I want to say thank you to Justin. This is my cousin, y'all. He joined me. This is my meal perspective. I think he's been doing a very good job at his
I
role,
appreciate it.
and he
I
keeps me
appreciate
on
it.
my toes. Because when I say I want to quit, he's like, "Oh man, we ain't doing it tonight. You gotta stay consistent. You gotta stay consistent." And
Yeah.
and I just want to give a shout out. To one of my line sisters that I spoke to on yesterday. Like, she really poured light in me, and it made me want to kind of put, to keep going and to keep doing this. So, and I had so many positive people, y'all, that like Dr. Bird come on, and he's making, he's in a commentary all the time, giving, and sometimes he pops on.
Engaging. Yeah.
So y'all will see these people just popping on from time to time to give their perspective. And if anybody else wants to pop on, come on the show and join this conversation, just let me know. I'll send you guys the link and you can come on. And with that said, I want y'all to keep watching, but I need you to like and subscribe, y'all, and share this podcast so that people know that we're out here spreading awareness. And we talk about different topics like we're women empowerment, male empowerment, community events, community happenings. So I think one of my next shows is going to be related to, which I think we need to talk about these elections and different things that have been going on. So I want to invite some people to come on my podcast to kind of discuss these things, and talk about different, like, how to vote and why we're voting the way we vote. So I hope when y'all get out there and vote, I can't tell y'all how to vote. I keep saying this, but what I'm gonna say for me, I'm gonna vote no for everything, and that's just my vote. But
I'm
if
gonna
you
run. That's what I'm gonna do.
but
I'm gonna run for something. They need me in there.
but you need to, and make sure y'all find out where the petition is to sign up to make, hopefully it's for a better way. But there is a petition going on out there. And I'm not promoting that either, but whatever your political beliefs are, if you believe in, in a great society, then you might want to go one way. And if you believe that, things are going into I don't even know how to describe the world that we living in right now.
If we regressing, if you feel like you want to regress, don't vote. But if you want to progress and you want to keep your same rights, then you need to go vote Saturday.
Saturday. And the polls stay open late, so find out where you're supposed to vote at. Okay, go online. You can do that online. City Hall. What is it? The cityhall.org or whatever they are. But anyway.
Now tomorrow is Thursday. I can tell you what a petition is tomorrow. The petition is tomorrow from 12 to 4 at Chicken's Kitchen on 921 Peters Road. That's from 12 to 4 p.m.
And
let me find out they just trying to get their sales up. It's about chicken. That's what it really is. They got it out in food. Now I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Where they gonna be at in New Orleans? Yeah.
Friday, they're gonna be from 10 to 3. They're gonna be at the American Postal Workers Union, AFL-CIO, right there on Old Gentilly Road. That's
Right there,
Saturday,
Oh,
Friday from 10 to 3.
10 to 3 on Old Gentilly Road by the postal place.
Yeah, by
on
the
the West Bank, I think.
American Postal Workers Union. And then then Friday there's another one, but that one is in Baton Rouge on
And
Drusilla Lane.
copy and paste that and put that in the chat so we could do. You can still do it once we get offline, but that do that.
I'm gonna put it in the
In the
comments
comments.
on my
Yeah,
Yes,
put it in the
phone
yes.
once I
comments.
get on my phone.
So the information
Yeah.
will be located in the comments, y'all. And y'all know Dr. Bird has a book out there, just like Justin has a book, and both of their books are located on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
They're both great authors. You can find Dr. Bird's. What's the name of your book, Dr. Bird? Live, love, and life. that's the name of my
I'm
book.
gonna think. Where the heck? I'm freezing, y'all. But we about to get off anyway, so it's all
Yeah.
good.
So I will see you guys next Wednesday and look forward to the next topic. But like I said, like, subscribe, and share. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, y'all. And catch me on Instagram as well whenever Instagram working. And I'm trying to move over to TikTok. So I'll be on TikTok live always. Almost had it tonight, but it kept blinking out. See y'all
All
next.
right. Well, y'all follow me at JWBSme LLC. Thank you so much. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Y'all
And
take care.
And Dr. Bird's book is called Living Life on Full. And like I said again, and you can find that on Amazon.com. All right. With that being said, good night. And thank you guys for tuning in. And I love you guys. Take care.